We've got a situation up in Pennsylvania, at the Hillcrest Women's Medical Center, i.e. death camp, abortion death camp. 69-year-old man there is, and that doesn't seem that old considering I'm going to be 60 in just a few days. Scary thought, isn't it? So a young man of 69.
I can't believe you've lived this long.
I know, it's amazing. He is on the roof of his car protesting abortion. A violent pro-choicer, as we're seeing more and more violence from these people, as I said, as closer we get, the more violent they're going to be, comes and attacks this man, and he winds up pretty seriously injured and in the hospital. His name is Ed Snell. We've got John McTernan on the line with us. Now, John, you witnessed this, is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell us what happened here.
Well, you were right. We were at the Hillcrest Women's Medical Center, and we've been having great success there the last couple of months, turning women around from abortion. And as a result of that, the abortion center built it's somewhere between 7 and 8 foot high fence to block us. It was a solid fence. And what we did then is we defeated that by bringing ladders, so we could stand on the ladders and still talk over the fence. And Ed got the idea of putting like a platform. He built this real sturdy platform on top of his car, and he could stand on it. So that's the background to the setting to what happened on that particular day. It was December 22nd. And it was early in the morning, very early in the morning, as a matter of fact, and Ed was at one end of the fence, and I was down at the other end of the fence. And he was talking to an individual who had gotten out of his car just on the other side of the fence with a woman who he was taking in for an abortion. And Ed began to talk to the man, and I couldn't see him because the fence blocked my view, but I could hear this yelling and screaming on the other man's part. I just heard Ed say, "Abortion, and it's a child." And next thing I knew, this guy came literally, it looked like something out of the movies. He came flying over the fence. He must have gotten on top of his car on the other side and then leaped up on the top of this 7-8 foot fence and then jumped on top of Ed's car with him. And simultaneously to landing on Ed's platform, he gave Ed this tremendous shove and catapulted him off. And Ed went head first, hit the ground, and was knocked unconscious.
Oh, my goodness. Now, my understanding is that you guys called the police. The man this pro-choice guy who committed this, what would be a felony, I think, is standing right there, and they don't arrest him. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it than that. You're right, though. Ed was knocked unconscious. I called the ambulance. I had my cell phone. I called the ambulance. Now, the ambulance took quite a while to get there. I called the police at the same time I called the ambulance. No police. The ambulance arrived. I called the police again. They tell me that they're coming from a long way. Now, Harrisburg's a small city. I mean, you can be from one end to the other
I've been there.
In 10 minutes. I mean,
right.
It's a small city. The ambulance arrives, and they're ministering to Ed, and I called the police a third time, and they said, well, there's an incident in the city. They're on the way now. Literally, Ed was placed in the ambulance. The ambulance was just beginning to pull away, and that's when the police arrived. I'll say it was 15 minutes after Ed was attacked that the police.
Now, let's make sure people understand. You're not some kind of anti-police zealot. You are the president of Cops for Christ. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a chaplain. I'm one of the co-founders of Cops for Christ. I was a federal agent for 26 years. And this is hard for me because on one hand I minister to the police, but I've got to tell the truth the way it is. So, I mean, I don't want to make them look worse than they are. I'm just telling you the truth. They had no idea who I was. Right. The police that responded, they had no idea that I was a police chaplain and all that.
And they threatened to arrest you.
Yeah, now here's the strange part on this. I just want to fill in a little more. When I first called the police, I had to come around the fence into an alley behind the abortion center, and I was looking directly at Ed's assailant, and I was talking to him, and the one operator at the same time, and he said he was like enraged. He was walking in circles, yelling. In fact, at one point, I thought he was kind of come at me, and he said, "I want to see him. I want to see him." And I got in the way to block him because he was going to go over it. I thought he was going to attack him even more. And I'm telling the police that the assailant is here. We have I think I said 65-year-old man unconscious on the ground. Get the police here right away. They still didn't come. An abortion worker came out. I believe she's the manager of Hillcrest. And she stood there mocking Ed, laughing and just literally like howling. It was one of the most demonic things I've ever heard. Just howling, laughing at this injured man on the ground. The police came. I explained to them what happened. 3 police officers came, 2 male and 1 female officers. The first officer went inside and came back out shortly after. The other 2 remained in. And he said that we've identified the assailant, and I'm going to the hospital to check on Ed Snell. So I'm standing there waiting and waiting and waiting, and it was a long, long time. I'm going to say a half hour, and I wasn't going to leave until I saw the police come out with the assailant. And then all of a sudden I'm looking, and here comes the assailant out of the abortion center with the woman he escorted there by himself. I don't see the police, no one. And I couldn't believe my eyes looking at this. And then all of a sudden the police come out of the abortion center, and they're about 15 feet behind him, 20 feet behind him. And I'm saying, that's him. That's him. That's the assailant. That's him. And he gets in his car, glaring at me. He pulls away. Now, the police had to walk past me to get to their car. I said, "What are you doing? That's him. Why aren't you arresting him?" So the female officer says to me, "Shut up. It's none of your business. It's between us, Ed Snell, and the defendant." So I said, "I'm making it my business." That's exactly what I said to her. I said, "I'm making it my business. Ed Snell's my friend." She said, "Shut up, or we're going to arrest you for interfering with a police investigation." I mean, that's literally what she said to me. So I said, "There's something wrong here. How can this guy walk away? None of your business, will arrest you." So 3 times she threatened to arrest me. And I told her, "I'm not backing down from you." In fact, I said to her, "If you don't do the right thing here," because I thought they were just not going to press charges at all and let him go. I said, "We're going to sue you, because we do have very good lawyers that represent us." Good. She said, "Oh, now you're threatening me again." "Well, I'll arrest you for threatening me." And then they got in their car and drove away. So
it's amazing. Well, listen, we're fortunate here that we have Ed with us on the other line. If you'll hang on just a minute, John, we're going to get Ed in here for a minute. Ed, are you there, sir?
Sure.
First off, how are you doing?
A lot better. First week was kind of tough. I was bedfast. My wife had to administer everything to me. She had to do everything. You can kind of use your imagination, and it wasn't any fun.
Well, how serious were your injuries, Ed?
I'll just read right from Penn State's report. I had a right subarachnoid hemorrhage. I had T3, 4, 5, and 10 compression fractures, right scapular fracture, my right 4th and 5th rib fractures. The head was, they were worried about my head more than anything because it was bleeding, but they took care of that. When they got me in, I was surrounded at the hospital. I had like 5 or 6 doctors around me. I got very good care there. But at any rate, they were concerned, of course, and so they had the chief of trauma surgery come down, and 2 other doctors from the trauma unit, and so it was a little touch and go there for a while, but everything now to me looks like it's going to come out okay. I went for an MRI yesterday, and I have one of the in the back, one of the fractures, the compression fracture it could be a problem, but they said it looks like it's probably going to heal.
Well, good.
The bleeding in my head has stopped, of course, and my the fracture, the scapular fracture, and the 2 ribs are healing up pretty good.
Well, I understand now they have gone out and charged this guy in this incident, and I just want to encourage you to not only continue to get better physically, but don't let this guy off the hook. So many times pro-lifers start feeling sorry for these people or saying, oh, well, you know, let's give him a break. I'm sure he didn't mean to do it. Put this guy in prison if you can.
Exactly. There's, you know, I always feel there's two parts. There's forgiveness, but there's also justice.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we intend to do that. We have of course now it's in the hands of the district attorney's office. So we got to wait till this whole thing's adjudicated, and then I have two attorneys waiting to take over from there.
Well, listen, Ed, you and John, I want to ask you to keep us informed about this. We'd like to bring the audience up to date later on as this thing progresses, and we won't let it be swept under the rug. And by the way, we're over on this segment, so we're out of time. I noticed that the national news didn't mention this. Had this been reversed, it would have been the lead story on the evening news every night.
Exactly.
I guarantee it.
Exactly.
I'm glad he had a witness.
Right.
Good witness.
And a great witness. John, of course, is retired federal agent, and he's now a private investigator. So maybe if it wouldn't have been for John, I might have been in a lot worse shape. I'm sure I would have.
Well, Ed, take care of yourself, and John,
right.
you watch after him a little bit too.
Okay, God bless you, Mark. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you
Thanks a
guys
lot.
for being with us today.
Okay,
Thanks
bye.
for having us.